Okay, good morning. We are working on 12.2, which is adding and subtracting polynomials. So now we're taking the polynomials that we worked on in the last lesson, and we're going to combine two full polynomials. So I have a polynomial here, I have a trinomial here, and I'm going to add them. All that means when I add is I'm going to combine like terms. So I'm going to show you two ways of doing that. First, I'm going to go ahead and just work with this and go in descending order. So I look at this, I have negative 4x cubed. Notice both terms are in descending order, they're in standard form already. I don't have any other x cubed, so I'm going to go ahead and just start by writing that, okay? Then I look at the x squareds. I have an x squared here, I have a 4x squared here. And when I add them, I just combine the coefficients. I leave the x squared, I leave the variable as it is, and then I look at this. If I don't have something there, I pretend like there's a 1. So there's a 1 plus 4 is 5, and that's a positive 5. So I'm adding 5x squared. Then I look at the next term down. I have a negative 3x, and I have a negative 7x. So that means I'm going to combine the negative 3 and the negative 7. When I put those together, it's a negative 10x. Then I have a negative 1 here and a positive 5 here. Negative 1 plus 5 is a positive 4. So now I've just combined those two polynomials. I've added them together. Let me show you another way of doing the same thing. These are the same polynomials. Negative 4x cubed plus x squared minus 3x minus 1 plus 4x squared minus 7x plus 5. Now, this is if we were working down. So I'm adding these two terms and I'm going to work down. I want to make sure that all of my common terms are stacked together. So I only have one x cubed, I have my x squared stacked together, I have my x's stacked together, and I have my constants stacked together. And now I'm going to treat it just like it's a long addition problem or a large one that you did back in elementary. So now we have negative 1 plus 5 is a positive 4. And I want to make sure I put in those plus and minus signs, otherwise I'm smushing them up together and that's not the same thing. I have a negative 3x and a negative 7x, so that's a negative 10x. I have a positive 1. Remember, there's nothing there. My coefficient, the understood coefficient is 1. So 1 plus 4 is 5x squared, and that's a positive 5x squared. And then I bring down my negative 4x cubed. And you can see that we got the same answer as what we did when we just combined like terms left to right and worked with it that way. Let's go ahead and try another one, and we're going to do it both ways. So I went ahead and wrote the example from your book, and I wrote it as if we were doing a long addition problem as well. So let's start with the y squares. It looks like that's my largest term, my largest exponent. These are already in descending order in standard form, so we're already one step ahead. I have a 2y squared. This is like saying a 1y squared. I do not need a 1 if there's only one term or 1 as the coefficient. I can just say y squared. But so that I can see them in an easier way to be able to add and subtract, we'll do that. So 2 plus 1 is 3y squared. And then I have a negative 4y and a positive 3y. So negative 4 plus 3 is a negative 1. So I could say negative 1y, or I can just say negative y. I don't need that 1 there. If you put a 1 there so that you can get used to it, if you want to get in the habit, that's okay for now. As we approach algebra, I don't want a 1 there for algebra. And then I have a plus 6 and a minus 2. 6 minus 2 is going to be a positive 4. Okay, let's go ahead and work it down. So 6 minus 2 here is 4. I want to double check before I start that I have the like terms stacked. So I have the y squareds, the y's, and the constants all stacked. Then I have a negative 4 and a positive 3, so that's going to give me a negative 1y. I didn't put a symbol here, so if it's a positive, I want to make sure that I put a plus sign there so that I can combine like terms properly. And then I have a 2y squared. Again, this is an understood 1, so 2 plus 1 is 3y squared. So that's how we add. Now subtracting is a little bit different. When I have something like this, my subtraction symbol, it actually is carried through the whole second term. So I want to rewrite this. If this is a positive already, it becomes a negative r squared, and then this becomes a minus 6r. And again, this negative symbol goes all the way through, so if I already have a negative, it changes that symbol. So what this minus sign does is it changes all of the symbols in the second polynomial. The first one stays exactly the same. Now I'm combining like terms. So I'm gonna go ahead and go left to right, and then I'll also stack it so that you can see it both ways. 4r squared minus r squared is a positive 3r squared. Negative r minus 6r becomes a minus 7r because I treat that like it's a 1. And then I have plus 8 plus 1, that becomes a positive 9. So let's go ahead and we'll stack this. So 4r squared minus r plus 8. And then I stack it. I have a minus r squared minus 6r plus 1. We've already changed the symbols. I want to double check. If this was a positive, it should be a negative here. Positive here, it should be a negative there. If it's a negative, it should be a positive. Now I can do just like long addition. 8 plus 1 is 9. And then negative 1r and negative 6r is a negative 7r. That is a positive, so we want to keep the positive sign. And then 4 minus 1 is 3r squared. And I should end up with the same answer if I do the work properly. We'll do one more, and then you'll be on your own. So this last term, this last polynomial, because I'm subtracting it, I'm going to double check. I'm going to change the symbol for everything in there. So this is a positive and that's a positive. They both become negative. The minus sign goes through the whole parenthesis. It's kind of like doing the distributive with a negative. So it goes through the whole parenthesis. The first set of parentheses, that polynomial stays the same. And now I just combine like terms. 6m squared minus 7m squared is going to be a negative 1m squared, or just a negative m squared. I have plus 2m. There's no standard m over there, just a simple m by itself. So I just carry this down, plus 2m. And then I have a minus 3, a minus 4. I combine those, they become a minus 7. And there is my addition subtraction problem when we're working with polynomials. So good luck. I hope you do well. Let me know if you have any questions.